mushroom coffee, which I think these are really delicious. Um, these and rise. So I usually do them morning and night, but I don't think I'm getting any extra benefit from doing it twice a day. Um, so I don't have to do it twice a day, and so I'm saving money by not. But this stuff hits the spot and gives me all the cordyceps and whatnot. Um, so the astrological transits are hitting pretty hard, and so the emotions of the time, they emerge. The and and the course of actions that affect aspects of your life arise, and it rocks the future in your head in those aspects off trajectory. And with all authenticity, um, I almost come to expect it of myself at this point, right? I've been slowly peeling away all manners of which I normally thought about associating, because a lot of shadow work self-examination from my time when I was on Revolution Radio, and how I was back then, and everything was very different with who everybody was that I was talking to, and everybody else in the life. And then I don't like how people like me are the kinds of people that don't forget what's unresolved through life events, whether they're existential events that affected you or personal events that affected you. There's always a resolution that lurks, that the heart does not forget. I am in an undisclosed location that is zero of your business. But I am talking about my state of being, which is kind of like aware, so I'm actually answering that question for you just in a way that is pleasing to me, because you've stumbled upon who might be a madman. So I didn't just make that as a tongue-in-cheek clickbait thing. I'm literally, talking a bit about how hard it is to accept yourself while knowing that you have to change serious problems about yourself. Crud lunch. Oh, that's a kind thing of you to say. I try to live up to the wisdom of the beard. I've been pretty foolish this month in many regards, but I don't think I'm shaving it. And maybe deep down inside, what's fueling my madness is that I'm mixing too many things up. Too many things of an immature me that I knew was immature, but I was just like, well, hold on a second. How do I get rid of the immaturity but keep the fun? Right? Because people, they become mature, and then maturity means you're not fun anymore, and that's not what maturity means. But I almost, but like, I went through a lot of conditionings because my temperament as a child was atrocious. And so um, they had to scare me. They had to scare me. And, you know, it sucks what the unconscious world can't help you with. Right? And, because it's a dense thing for a kid. And there's a big issue with too many people that look at the outside and say the inside will correct itself if we sever you from the toxic identity, which under emergency circumstances, true. Not under I'm scared circumstances. Being scared is not an emergency. It's just that you have impossible standards. Hey, what's up, Jules? Grey Pill Podcast. Like, share, and subscribe. We do stuff. We collaborate on occasion, as you've seen on this channel. If you've been following for a few days at least. Try to be present most weekends for Gods of the Morning Wood with a cacophony of guests, part of the team. And our second Occult Cinema episode together. So, all very exciting stuff. So, unfortunately, there's an unfiltered aspect that mixed with my own personal confusions and the enormity of things of worth to say, that sometimes on the fly, it's almost like it comes out as if another entity says it. And maybe that's in part what it is. Anybody who's either Christian or Muslim probably would listen to something like this and have an answer in their book, because like I can make Muhammad my fucking role model and I'll be all right as long as I follow the prophet. Or conversely, for the Christians, we all understand the big J, right? The ultimate big brother. Christianity is the big brother program. And that's because, they're trying to have their idealized egregore of a model figure for yourself that they want to install in you, and then they will feel safe because you run the same program. You have the J program, I got the J program. Okay, we understand how all your things work because you've surrendered to God. In this way, you've said all the right things, and I see you around doing the right stuff. You're acting right, yada, yada, yada. And who cares about your internal world? Right? But no, plenty of Christians care about internal world. I'm sure plenty of Muslims do too, right? Maybe there's a difference between Muslim and Islam, right? And that Islam's a problem, but a Muslim is not, right? There's my cosmological thing, and then and that's got no bearing on you if you're a person of a faith versus my whole criticism of all the things. And like, I say it how it is about stuff like that, right? Um, and I also know when to say it and drop it because I don't want to fight with my friends about it. I mean, I want to have a healthy debate about it, but I just speak what I know, and if I don't know any further, it's like I'm happy to lose the argument. No big deal. Most people would not consider me mad, typically, but sometimes they're just catching me when everything's running all right and the protocols are pretty straightforward in my brain. I don't know, weird things knock me the F off. In many, like, I almost worry that I'm almost like running a anticipatory delusion of grandeur, right? Oh no, I expect things to get so weird that I'm gonna have to do something about it. Right? So, it's just like, and you have to keep telling yourself, dude, nothing's gonna happen. This is the normie verse. Everybody's just a professional person. Even if a weird thing happened, you're gonna be the only one who sees it, and it's only gonna affect you anyway. And if you do something about it, it'll just blow up in your face, and then you're in trouble. And so, I am sure that neurodivergent people go through this. I heard a lot about it looking into the autism stuff once it was getting to become so prevalent. Now that I was seeing this, right? Because autism and puberty under certain circumstances, under stimulated circumstances for that kind of autists, that's an underlying part of what all that fucking is. But also there were many autists that were cool too, right? So like the spectrum is also fairly unique anyway, right? And the way the boomer generation runs on its programs, it's just like, maybe there's always been a lot of people with autism, at least in our lifetimes. Don't start fantasizing that people were autistic in the Middle Ages. I mean, there were, right? Because circumstances that affect brain chemistry and all that stuff. But, this is all about realizing the toxicity of our habits, the cause that we've been harming, the struggles that we've been having, right? And whatever I am has been a struggle for my mom and dad. And sometimes it took me a long time under circumstances to realize. I'm not saying like this is recent, but there's still echoes of this because of how long it went on. Of not realizing that it's over, right? It's just like, we don't do this Christmas thing anymore. We don't do this kind of bailout for you when you fuck up anymore. So on and so forth, right? We don't lend you money like that anymore. And honestly, I spent just most of my life looking for an escape to baseline that I never found, right? So I feel like I've not been living at baseline. And many other stubborn things, right? Maybe I don't deserve the beard because I've been foolish, right? But you kind of get the impression that you're in this kind of a fucking place that you live in. Part of that being, oh, America and freedom and all that. So it doesn't make sense to you that everybody's telling you to cut your hair when you're, 16 years old and younger than that even, and you discovered Metallica, and it's just like, come on, they can't be evil. We live in a just society. Justice would have stopped them if they were evil. So, obviously, it's an approvable thing. I don't, like, why the hell is that a sin? Right? It's just like you'll hear it biblically. Catholics would have said it, and Protestants, right? There was way less divide over what it meant. Now that people have a stronger sense of the politics going on, it all depends, right? Or, like if you're a Catholic, are you an American Catholic, or are you like a globalist Catholic, right? Because anybody who, I don't want to get into it anyway. And so I've been uncomfortable in all sorts of groups for all sorts of reasons for a long time, and it's nothing personal. It's just that I unfortunately see what's wrong with all of them, right? And I just didn't have the words to say it, and I had no reason to suspect that anybody that I was interacting with was doing anything on purpose, if you will. And it was just something that I just deeply intuited, and I left, right? And I walked away from it. I walked away from Catholicism. I walked away from Assembly of God. Just at a certain point, I just said to myself, my heart's not here anymore, right? And I had no mind or gut intelligence for a long time. And my brain is a scatterbox of unconstructed ideas. And my gut had been in pleasure too long and not enough survival training. And so all sorts of things out of whack, all sorts of fears, uncertainties. It's made me a mess. It's made me confusing. It's made me concerning as someone who could be a long form worker for anyone who, as we all honor, has to, by his own merits, bust his ass, right? There's a lot of merciless job markets out there, which is how I got fired in a week for a landscaping job that I had they've only had a look at me for a week. That's all it took was a week. They could have fired me any fucking week, and they knew they would have had like some other guy chomping at the bit. They wouldn't have been lacking, right? But they want to have a certain standard, and they don't want to let somebody kind of get the knack of it, or at least Let him get the fucking first week's jitters out? What the fuck? You know what I mean? Hey, what's up, Nicholas? So, yeah. And so, my Uranic energies make me a real fucking, like, mess that kind of has the possibility of being like, I can't believe he said that, on top of it being like, wait, he knows he shouldn't have said that, and for fucking some reason, I will lapse on it and selfishly say it. And, that's a trust issue. So, you know, I spend most of my time by myself for that fucking reason, alone, right? Because I certainly hated myself with all the other coping mechanisms. This is me spending that time with myself that I probably owed myself when I was in my teens or my 20s. But I have to go to work. But that's okay, I would have had to go to school. So it all kind of pans out. Right, and so I think that part of the alienation is just like can you ask yourself why certain ideals of certain groups that had maybe motives and missions or whatever didn't pan out in certain ways, right? That's why I make many of the videos I do. Where, listen, in my heart of hearts, I'm a fucking anarchist. But if there must be government, right? See this new level of self-reflection this evening, sir. Thanks, Nick. Jack Fullerton, or Pansies Out. Pansies Out? What do you mean? Elaborate. And what exactly were you referring to? So, you know, it's like I don't feel any less alienated because of anything I say that may happen to be agreeable with people, right? Which then I get people that, depending on the context of how a whole conversation's going, what I think it's like to be talking about them, they maybe think that I'm being some sort of dishonest and trying to answer to some popular appeal in a strange way. Right, when that's really just kind of like my Libraic side of my personality coming out, that's just doing the balance thing, right? And so for me to lean into that, which is a gift, it also changes my relationship with myself, because now that I'm consciously doing it, there are certain things about how I used to be that I either can't be, at least when I'm doing that stuff, or around certain people who don't know me, or I cut it out altogether and not have some sort of side. I came in and hearing it all pans out, and I just said, "Oh, okay, okay." You're just being funny with the words. Don't apologize. I was just being a jerk. No, 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 no. That's okay. That's okay. You coming in just making a lighthearted whatever. That's cool. just just don't be the kind of person that says the vile shit that they say while I'm driving. If you end up being one of those guys that says vile shit while I'm driving. Oh, the things that I say and the things that I might do if I can get my eyes off the road long enough to hit buttons. um, so of course one of the big stressors is being a man in my mid 40s in this kind of predicament, which is a plus on one end because I don't have to stress over children and the ex attached to them. But at the same time, by true and proper standards of anything, right? I'm terrified that I'll never have enough for a woman to want to whatever with me, right? So trying to be a more celibate person because otherwise you drive yourself mad. And you make all sorts of bad decisions because of various things associated with what the fuck is your problem. And some of the life lessons you may have missed when you were a wee lad, and needed it in those times. And seeing other people in much worse circumstances of a certain, and this is why I talked about Begonia, right? The two characters in Begonia and the dark shadow there, right? But I didn't have any seriously negative effect. I just looked at it and just said I would have to dig back to the early 2000s at latest to catch a timeline where I was either one of those guys. Right? So if there's a real fucking Andromedan out there, it's fucking me. Alright, enough of my madman rantings. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. Yeah, people say all sorts of different things, right? Gotta have the kids, but it's the question of, can I really handle, I don't know if I could be a father. I want to be a father, but whatever. Stay focused on mission, personal success, all that shit, and hopefully do way better on social cues, because that'll get me fucking killed if I don't. Alright. Peace.